The sky is not the sky anymore. It doesn't stretch in blue arcs or drift lazily with clouds like it once did. Now, it hangs low-gray, swollen, churning like a bruise that never heals. Some days it glows orange, a sickly amber that reflects off the rising tides like fire on oil. Other days, it's just blank, a smothered void that presses down on everything below, as if the heavens are ashamed of what the earth has become. The oceans did rise, slowly, then suddenly, and when they came hungry. Swallowed coastlines, devoured cities, chewed through steel and concrete like salt on bone. New York disappeared under black water in a week. Jakarta never even stood a chance. The old maps are lies, now ghost stories etched on yellowing pages. You can sail for miles and never find what used to be. I'm broadcasting from somewhere that used to be inland, used to be Colorado, but the sea moved in and made itself at home. It didn't just rise, it invaded. Not water like we used to know it. Not clear or clean or cold. It's thick, salty sludge choked with rot and rust and the skeletons of things we used to be. There's a saying now, the sea remembers what we forgot, and it's true. The ocean keeps bringing pieces of the past back: cars, plastic toys, bodies still dressed in supermarket uniforms. The land isn't safer. What the sea didn't take, the sky punished. The rain, when it comes, is a the skin burns the leaves off the few stubborn trees that refuse to die. The air hums with heat, even in the dead of night, and nothing grows here anymore. Not naturally. Not without filters, fans, and the kind of equipment no one can power anymore. You see more bones in the dirt than roots. Everywhere is cracked, rusted, melted, or drowned. Familiar places twisted into nightmares. I walked through the husk of a Walmart 2 months ago. Shelves half submerged in salt water, shopping carts overturned like bones of extinct beasts. A sign still read rollback prices, hanging askew over a flooded toy aisle, and somewhere in the rafters, a nest of gulls screeched like sirens. The cities that haven't been completely lost are hollow, vertical graveyards. Skyscrapers stand like the fingers of drowned men reaching out from the sea. There are whole towns where silence screams louder than any storm. Just the wind moving through broken windows, or the lapping of waves in streets where children used to ride bicycles. And people, we're what's left after hope gave up. Scattered survivors, bunker-born scavengers, floating raft towns made from garbage and forgotten dreams. Governments, gone. They dissolved not with a bang, but with a shrug. Too slow to act, too proud to admit the truth. By the time they started moving, the waters had already risen above their podiums. Power grids failed. Satellites blinked out. Emergency broadcasts looped until their batteries died. Now, it's just static, and, lest you find someone like me. There are factions, of course, always are. Humans don't forget how to form tribes. We just forget how to be human sometimes. Some are scavenger networks, decent enough folks, trading salvage and shelter. Others are worse raiders, who wear wetsuits and shark teeth, who see the end of the world as permission to become the monsters they always hid inside. There's talk of a floating city out past the Gulf, some massive barge chain community, powered by old wind turbines and desperation. But no one knows if it's real. Just another myth riding the currents, like Eden or dry land. Institutions, libraries became firewood. Hospitals turned into triage tents before becoming plague pits. Universities are nothing but submerged archives now, their knowledge sealed in brine. Some say a few scientists still operate a lab somewhere in the Rockies, high enough to stay dry. But good luck reaching them if they're even alive. I keep this transmitter running off a cobble-together solar grid and an old bicycle generator. Takes a lot of pedaling to say so little, but it's worth it. Sometimes, someone hears me. A voice cuts through the static. Sometimes I get coordinates, or a warning, or just the words, still alive. That's enough to keep going. This world is unfamiliar, alien, but it's ours. What's left of it, anyway? We destroyed it. We watched the oceans swell and the skies burn, and we did nothing but post about it. Now it's too late to reverse. But maybe not too late to endure. If you're out there, still listening, if you've found this signal bouncing between broken towers and fractured clouds, know this. The world ended, but we didn't. Not yet. Asterisk. My name is Mara Ellen. I was a climatologist before the ocean came for the cities and the sky forgot how to breathe. Funny, isn't it? I spent 20 years warning people this would happen, writing papers, building models, giving talks with trembling hands and dry mouths. And when the world finally listened, it was already underwater. Now, I'm just a voice in the dark. I broadcast from what used to be a ranger station in the Colorado Highlands. Higher ground saved my life. The irony stings sometimes, like the salt on my skin after a night of sea winds. The place is built from old stone and desperation, and if the wind hits just right, it groans like it remembers the trees that once surrounded it. I've patched solar panels onto the roof, strung antenna wire out into the ghost trees, and rigged an old exercise bike to feed power into the battery bank when the sun disappears for days, which it often does. The transmitter I use was salvaged from a lifeboat I found jammed in the branches of a drowned pine tree, salt-crusted and barnacle-pocked, but it still worked. Like me, I guess. Just barely. I survive, because I don't know how to stop. Habit, maybe, or guilt. I scavenged a greenhouse kit from a washed-out suburban survivalist camp months ago, and I've been growing greens under red UV light ever since. Algae tanks for protein, condensation nets for water. Everything filtered, everything measured. Waste is death now. There's no luxury in movement, only the necessity of stillness and structure. My whole world fits in the shadow of a broken satellite dish and the range of this radio signal. Sometimes I miss the chaos of the before, the noise of it all. But what I miss more is the quiet of safety. The stillness you never noticed until it was gone. The hum of a refrigerator, the rustle of a newspaper, the soft click of a door locking at night. Now, when it's quiet, you listen harder. You wonder if it's the wind or something worse. I haven't seen another living person in over 7 months. The last was a boy named Elino, older than 17, skin cracked like dry earth, coughing, up sea mold, carrying a water-damaged violin case full of canned peaches and journal pages. We sat by the fire and traded stories. He didn't stay long, said he was headed west to find a place where the stars still came out at night. I gave him 2 filters, a flare, and what hope I could spare. Hope. That's the currency now. Not food, not bullets, not batteries. Hope. The belief that something might still be out there, that there's still something worth broadcasting for. That's why I keep talking, every night. At 2,100 hours, I switch on the transmitter. I start. With a weather report though, what's left of weather is just a roulette wheel of atmospheric cruelty. I give coordinates to any clean water I've mapped. Any safe havens I've heard whispers about, though they rarely stay safe for long. I read out old poetry sometimes. Other times, I sing badly. I talk about Eli, about my brother, who drowned in a flash flood trying to save someone else's child. About my partner, Anna, who never made it out of Chicago when the lake turned to poison. About the friends I lost not to disaster, but to despair. People who laid down in dry riverbeds and just stopped. I talk to them all. Maybe someone is listening. Maybe it's just me echoing back at myself. Doesn't matter. There's a journal I keep, stitched together from laminated pages and duct tape. It's more than just notes, it's a record, a memory engine. I write down every voice I hear come through the static, every story I catch in scraps of shortwave or Morse. One day, someone might read it. Someone who didn't live through this. Someone who needs to understand how we broke the world, and how, even after all that, someone still cared enough to bear witness. My body's not what it was. The sea air cracks your skin and rots your teeth. I wrap myself in cloth, in plastic, in the remnants of a world that tried too late to survive. My hair's silver now, not with age, but with ash. Breathing is harder than it should be. But I breathe, and that's enough. What keeps me going? Maybe it's duty. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's that irrational part of the human soul that keeps planting seeds in burned soil. Or maybe I just want to believe that if someone, somewhere, hears my voice and keeps walking one more mile, then it's all worth it. I don't dream anymore, but I remember. And in this broken place, memory is sacred. I remember rainfall that didn't sting, fields that weren't brown, oceans that weren't monsters. And I remember a world where people didn't just survive, they lived. And even now, even here, I'm still broadcasting, still surviving, still hoping. If you're hearing this, you're not alone. And neither am I. THEC is rising faster now, not just in inches, but in moods. It used to be a slow crawl, predictable enough that you could mark it on a calendar. A foot a year, then 3, then 6. Then it wasn't just the ocean anymore, but the atmosphere, the currents, the heat itself. Everything breaking loose all at once. Now it surges without warning. Sometimes it retreats. Sometimes it surges. Inland, like it remembers the shape of old rivers. Pulling salt water across desert plains and mountain basins that were never meant to taste the sea. In the sky. The sky is angry. We are living inside a storm that never ends. 2 weeks ago, the water reached the edge of my garden wall. I woke to the sound of sloshing, not rain, but movement like something alive, crawling across stone. It soaked the last of my compost, fouled half the water barrels I'd buried under the station. Had to siphon them out, boil what I could, filter the rest through carbon ash and gravel. Even then, I could still taste the salt. My tongue is raw now. My gums bleed. I know the science of it. That's the curse of being a climatologist in a world that ignored the warnings. I understand exactly why this is happening. We passed 2 degrees Celsius of warming 15 years ago. Tipping points followed glacial collapse in West Antarctica, irreversible thaw in the Siberian permafrost. Methane plumes lit the sky like fireworks across the Arctic. The thermaline circulation, the deep ocean conveyor belt that regulated Earth's climate began to stutter and then fracture. The Gulf Stream slowed. The Indian monsoon failed. Jet streams drifted and locked into place, creating heat domes and blocking systems. One region would drown while another roasted alive. Nothing moved like it should. Weather became chaos. It's called stratocumulus cloud dissipation. When CO levels passed 1200 ppm, we lost our thermal shade. Clouds couldn't form over the oceans like they used to. Solar radiation now hits the Earth's surface like an unfiltered scream. That's why we have days that hit 60 degrees Celsius inland. That's why UV levels are lethal by noon in places where people once sunbathed without fear. That's why the sea is swallowing everything. That's why I haven't slept more than 4 hours in a row since May. The storms come more often now, not the kind you track or name or prepare for. These are oceanic pulse storms, born from superheated water and atmospheric instability. They don't spiral, they convulse. You can watch them form on satellite feeds when those still work like tumors blooming over warm water. I've seen them hit the coastlines with enough force to collapse steel buildings. The wind howls like a banshee and rips trees from the soil like weeds. And then there's the rain. The poison rain that carries with it chemical particulates, plastics, and atmospheric ash. The salt content alone makes it burn like vinegar on skin. Some say it causes hallucinations. I don't know if that's the rain or just the loneliness, but I've seen shapes moving across the field in storms, human, maybe, or something else. They never come close. What's left of my supplies won't hold forever. Algae tanks need careful maintenance. The pH is off lately, probably from microplastics. I've got 6 UV bulbs left for the grow lights, and only one that's still strong. Fuel for the backup generator ran out 3 months ago. I pedal the bike now more than I speak. My legs ache constantly, and my knees lock in the cold. I barter when I cancel our batteries for iodine tabs, algae paste for antibiotics. Most trade is done via broadcast exchange now. If you're lucky, someone hears your coordinates and doesn't kill you for your trouble. Not everyone's just trying to survive. Some want control. There's a group called themselves the Brine Apostles. I've intercepted their transmissions. They believe the sea is sacred, that humanity was a plague the ocean was sent to cleanse. They baptize their recruits in toxic tide pools, say that salt is the price of rebirth. I've heard stories of them draining survivors, leaving them pale and bloated like offerings. They're not a myth. I saw one once painted head to toe in dead fish scales, eyes completely black, dragging a cart full of car batteries and bones. He stood outside my fence for hours, didn't speak, just watched. Then he left, like he was waiting for me to break first. And then there's the scavenger convoys. Not quite enemies, not quite friends. A rolling flotilla of pickup boats and floating rigs. They come through the valleys when the tides roll out, strip every piece of wire, pipe, or fuel cell they can find. I trade with them sometimes. They're rough, but not cruel. Yet, desperation makes liars of everyone, and hunger turns decency into a luxury. The hardest thing now isn't staying alive. It's staying human. Resources are vanishing. The soil here has no nutrients left. I scraped moss off an old satellite dish just to ferment it into broth. My tongue went numb. There are no wild animals. The birds are gone. Insects too. Once in a while, you'll see a rat or a dog, but they look wrong now. Eyes milky, teeth warped, like the world forgot how to build them properly. And the ocean keeps climbing. It isn't just water. It's memory. It brings up what we buried. Plastic islands, corpses in biohazard suits, sunken warships, whole neighborhoods torn from their roots and pushed inland like driftwood cities. One washed up on the ridge south of Hera cul-de-sac, still intact, foundations clinging to cracked pavement like scar tissue. I explored it once. Every home had its front door open, every room filled with brine. Why is survival harder now? Because the world doesn't recognize us anymore. The rhythms are gone. The systems are gone. The rules are gone. We are strangers in the ruins of our own design, trying to light fires with wet wood and prayers. Every day is a negotiation with a planet that no longer wants us here, and yet, I'm still here, broadcasting, pedaling, boiling brine, harvesting algae, talking to ghosts. If you're hearing this, remember this one thing. It wasn't always like this. And maybe if we endure long enough, it won't always be. But tonight, the air is too hot to breathe. The water barrel is nearly empty, and the sky is black with something that smells like gasoline and regret. So I keep talking, because if I stop, then the sea wins, and I won't let it. Not yet. Asterisk, the air hasn't moved in days. It just hangs here, suffocating, saturated with salt, heat, and something chemical I can't name. The inside of my lungs feels like paper. My lips are cracked, my skin splitting at the knuckles from dehydration. Water's running low again. I scraped the last few droplets off the condensation net this morning, boiled them twice, filtered them through charcoal from an old fire pit. Still tasted like rust and rot. 3 nights ago, something worse happened. They came back, the ones who stand too still, watch too long. Brine Apostles, or someone like them. I woke to the smell of ozone and a quiet too perfect to trust. Outside the station, just at the edge of the collapsed tree line, someone had drawn a spiral into the dirt, concentric circles, made with salt. Sea salt. That shouldn't be possible up here. We're miles above the surge line, It wasn't just a threat. It was a message. We see you. We're coming back. I've reinforced the doors with scrap metal and weighted the windows with sandbags. But I can't shake the feeling that security is an illusion. The world doesn't keep you safe anymore. You keep yourself hidden long enough to be forgotten, or you stay moving. And moving takes energy I barely have. The generator's dead again. I stripped the copper wiring from an old breaker box in a flooded diner. Last month used most of it, patching the solar junction, but the sun doesn't show its face anymore. Just cloud rot and low gray ceilings. I pedal when I can. Some nights, I black out mid-spin, wake up on the floor with blood on my lips, and no memory of what I was saying. On dash air dot still, I talk, because I heard something new. It came over the frequency 3 days ago, a voice, not static, not an echo, a real voice, faint, female, crackling in like a phantom. Station C8, this is Arcadia. Repeat, this is Arcadia. Confirm you are receiving. We have water. We have light. If you can hear this, you are not alone. Then silence. Gone before I could respond. I've been scanning non-stop since then, switching bands, rerouting the antenna, boosting signal strength far beyond what I should. Burned out 2 transistors, nearly fried my entire rig. But I heard it. Arcadia could be real, could be bait, could be a recording loop set by raiders to lure desperate souls to their camps. It wouldn't be the first time a trap disguised as hope, but still, the name sticks with me like a song I can't unhear. Arcadia, something peaceful, something untouched. I've marked possible locations based on transmission bounce maybe 300 miles southwest, deep in the salt flats. That land is a graveyard of cracked mud and sunken cities. No trees, no cover, nothing but the bones of the world and the ghosts that cling to them. I'd never make it on foot, but maybe there's another way. There's a scavenger group I've traded with them before. They call themselves the Reds, not for politics, but for the rust-red boats they've converted into landsleds. They run salvaging missions through flood zones and derelict rail lines. Their leader, Cass, owes me a favor. I saved her crew once when a flash flood hit north of Pueblo. Pulled them out with nothing but rope and a prayer. I could trade the last of my medical supplies, or the solar battery from the roof. Risky, but if Arcadia is real, then again what if it's not? That's the war-won fight every day now. Not with the weather, not with raiders, not even with the lack of food, but with the slow erosion of belief. I wonder how much of my hope is real, and how much is just inertia. Am I chasing a voice because I believe it's real, or because I need it to be? I told myself I wouldn't trust again after Eli. After he left, I tracked his signal for a week. Found his flare gun in a collapsed tunnel north of here. No body, just the flare used. He'd called for help. No one came. I don't want to be that voice, calling into the dark, waiting for someone who will never arrive. But Arcadia, if it exists, might not just be a myth. It might be the last gasp of something human, a place that still runs on compassion, not conquest. And if there's even a chance of that being true, how can I ignore it? But leaving the station means leaving the signal. It means silence. It means abandoning the one thing I've built, the one thing that still connects me to others. Can I trust strangers again? Can I be a stranger again? Can I go back out into that world, after all I've seen, and believe that not everything has teeth? I don't have the answer, but I know this. The salt spiral returned this morning, bigger, closer, and I don't think I have the luxury of staying still much longer. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll reach out to Cass. I'll offer the battery. I'll ask for a ride, southwest toward whatever Arcadia is. A trap, a myth, a miracle, I don't know. But staying here is slow death. And at least out there, I might find a reason to keep breathing. If you're hearing this, Sif, you've heard the voice of Arcadia. To broadcast on channel 11.9, leave a sign. a trail, anything, because something is changing. The tides are shifting, and we're running out of time. I don't have long. If you're still out there, if this signal makes it through the static wall, rolling in from the east, listen carefully. This might be the last time I get to speak. The wall of dust came from nowhere. No warning, no weather shifts, no pressure dips on the old analog barometer. It just appeared a roiling, growling monster of particulate death, blotting out the horizon. I've seen sandstorms, lived through dry lightning that burned the South Valley, even watched black funnels twist through an abandoned solar field. But this is different. This thing is alive, and it's moving straight for us. I saw it with my own eyes this morning. First, just a thin veil in the distance, like smoke from a dying fire. Then it grew, darkened, thickened, until the entire eastern sky was swallowed in swirling, suffocating brown. Static began eating up our radios, even the old solar-powered ham sets. It jammed everything, screamed through the frequencies like it wanted us to hear it coming. The wind carries more than just dust now. I swear, I heard voices in it. Or maybe I'm just losing it. We had just begun rationing the last of the diesel when it struck. That old generator from the Coast Guard station. It's sputtering, coughing, trying to breathe like the rest of us. It might keep the doors sealed for a little while longer, power the filters, but not much else. Our small crew, barely 6 of us now, are scattered across this crumbling facility, some boarding up the windows with whatever's left. Others on the roof trying to send a flare, as if there's anyone left to see it, and me. I'm still here, talking, recording, hoping, but that's not all that's happening. There's something else, something I haven't told you. 3 nights ago, one of ours came back from a supply run solo. He was pale, shaking, barely coherent. Said he found something. Said there's water, clean water, underground, flowing. He had GPS coordinates scribbled on duct tape wrapped around his wrist. Said he followed an old aquifer map he found in a municipal ruins archive, and that he heard the sound of running water through the rubble of a buried subway tunnel. He brought back a vial muddy, but there was clarity beneath the sediment. It smelled fresh, not rust, not rot, fresh. The others didn't believe him, thought he cracked under the heat, but I saw his eyes. He believed, and that's the part that scared me the most. I had a choice, wait here and die slowly as the last of the air scrubbers give out, or go, chase this rumor into the wasteland and risk everything. So I left. Took the coordinates, a half charge on the last solar battery, and a filtered mask. Rode north, past the scorched cornfields, past the rusted grain silos, past the skeletal gas stations picked clean decades ago. The sky was dry and sharp, a pale bruised yellow, and my shadow followed like a ghost, and then I found it an entrance. Collapsed stairs and broken concrete slabs marking where a subway station once dipped below the surface. The wind moaned through the entrance like a throat gasping for air. Inside, everything was black, tangled steel, rotting signs, bones. But, deeper down, through the wreckage, I heard it. A drip, then another, then a faint stream. And there it was, a trickle clear and shimmering, beneath a fractured wall of quartz-veined stone. A relic of a time before the collapse. A spring, maybe even a buried tributary of the old river that once fed this region before the aquifers dried up and the rain stopped. The moisture gathered in a natural basin, cool, untouched. I could feel it on my skin, smell the dampness in the air. I filled 2 jugs, drank deeply. It tasted like life, like memory, like salvation, but salvation comes at a cost. I wasn't alone down there when I turned. I saw them 3 figures, thin, starved, eyes sunken, faces burned red and blistered from long exposure. Raiders, maybe, or just desperate people who followed me. They didn't speak at first, just stared at the water, while then one of them lunged. I ran. They chased. Still have the scratch down my side to prove it burns where the skin was torn open against metal and concrete. I barely made it back to my ride, firing 2 shots over my shoulder, one of which I think hit someone. I didn't look back. I didn't want to know. Now I'm here again, barely alive, telling you this before the dust storm arrives and swallows this place whole. And I'm faced with another choice. I know where the water is. I could return, could try to lead others there, build something again. Or maybe I could disappear, keep it secret, let it be mine, die quietly, with a belly full of water, and the memory of something beautiful. But that's not who I am, not anymore. So here's what I'll do. I've encoded the coordinates in the signal band of this broadcast, hidden between the waveforms, just like the old resistance did during the comms blackout of 36. If you're a scavenger with an analog tuner, a scientist with enough solar left to run spectrum analysis, or just someone desperate enough to listen carefully, you'll find it. I'm trusting you, because someone has to, because we're running out of time. The wall of dust is closer now. I can see it outside the observation, port black and swirling, chewing up the earth like a hungry god. Static screams through every radio band. My ears are ringing. My breath tastes like copper. But I'm not afraid, because I've seen hope with my own eyes. And maybe, just maybe, you will too. Asterisk, this is the voice that doesn't go away. Not yet. Not while there's still a signal to steal from the static. Not while there's still something left to say. So here I am, still breathing, still talking, still trying. The storm's passed, if you could call that thing a storm. It didn't. Just come down it, folded the sky in half, and poured it sideways into the bones of the earth. Water pounded like fists on the roof of the lighthouse. Winds screamed like they were grieving. The ocean surged so high it swallowed the horizon. The sky bled chemicals. The sea churned like something alive was beneath it, something ancient and angry. I honestly didn't think I'd be alive to tell you this. I made a choice. I stayed. I shut the rusted shutters, bolted the radio room, and talked into the mic until the world outside drowned. Not because I thought it would save me, but because someone needed to hear the truth. I still don't know if I made the right call. But I made it this morning. Everything's changed. There's debris everywhere, ships snapped in half and pushed inland like toys. Salt-crusted vehicles flipped upside down. An entire floating city ripped apart, its solar sails fluttering like wet paper in the reeds. The lighthouse survived. Somehow, its foundation is cracked. The antenna is held together with prayers and duct tape. But it's standing, and I'm still standing, too. I went outside for the first time in 2 days. The air smells like rot and ozone. The clouds are low and orange, and there's this electric pressure in my skull. Like the atmosphere forgot how to breathe. The ocean's closer now, way closer. It's eaten another mile of land, easy. The last road north is gonna washed out and buried beneath black sand and seaweed. The old ranger station is half flooded. I saw gulls perched on the second-floor window, like they were mocking the idea of civilization. The trees that once framed the cliffs are gone, ripped up by the roots, and carried who, knows where. The world looks like it tried to erase itself, but even here, even after all that, I found something in the mud, caught between the railing and a drift of kelp. There was a piece of tech, a data drive, not waterproof, but sealed in plastic, marked with a symbol I haven't seen before, 3 concentric circles, faintly glowing blue dot, no name, no instructions, but it clicked into the transmitter bank, just barely, and it played a voice, female.com, confident. She said something, like Project Ithaca is alive, the wellspring is active, 12.94 latitude, 38.11 longitude. We survived the breach. There's still a way. That was it. Just a few seconds. Then it looped and glitched. I've replayed it 100 times. memorized it. It feels like a thread in the dark, something to follow. But what if it's another lie? That's the thing, isn't it? After everything we've endured, after betrayal, after loss, after whole cities sank, the most dangerous thing isn't the ocean, or the sky, or even the raiders. It's hope. Hope is heavy. It asks you to carry it without any guarantee it'll lead somewhere. It whispers things. It costs, but for the first time in months, I want to follow it. I sat by the edge of what used to be the cliff trail. Just dirt now. The path ends in water, and the water is quiet. There are no gulls crying, no engines, no more fires on the horizon. It's a strange, aching kind of peace. I thought about all the voices I've broadcasted into this big, broken world. I've told you about raiders and black rain, about the dead zones and the river that boiled. I've mourned friends I never got to bury. I've cursed the sky for taking everything. But right now, I want to say something else. I want to believe that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't all for nothing. The damage is bad, worse than I expected. The soil's poisoned in patches. A sheen of oil rides every puddle. The wind still brings whispers of sulfur and plastic. Animals are disappearing. The few that remain don't look right anymore. There are no seasons, hot, cold, and chaos. But there are signs, two tiny ones. I saw a seedling pushing through a crack in the sidewalk. I saw a deerling, cautious, drinking from a puddle beneath a collapsed roof. I heard laughter from a far-off ham radio frequency. Could have been a trick of the storm. Could have been real. And now this data drive. What if Ithaca is real? What if the myth of the wellspring, the one I dismissed as a desperate survivor's ghost story, was rooted in something true? A working water purification system, a functioning satellite relay, a community that hasn't turned on itself. It's probably a trap. But the part of me that's still human, still dreaming, it wants to go. It wants to find it. But here's the truth. Even if I don't, even if I die tomorrow, swallowed by the sea, or picked clean by the wind, this message matters. Because you're hearing it. Because someone is still listening. That means the world hasn't ended. Not really. I've been alone so long I forgot what it felt like to imagine joining something again. To believe there's still a place where the world isn't ending every day. I don't know if I'll reach it, but I've packed what I can. A few cans of food, a thermal blanket, the old compass, and the coordinates burned into my brain. Tomorrow, I head inland, upstream, toward where the maps used to lie and the signals start to echo. I'm going to find Ithaca, or die trying. Until then, this is my voice, still here, still transmitting, still refusing to give up. If you're out there, asterisk, this might be the last transmission I send for a while, maybe ever. The solar cells aren't charging right, there's too much salt in the air, too much haze in the sky. Even the sun, when it shows up, feels like a ghost of itself, pale, uncommitted. But somehow, this little radio tower's still standing, still, humming, still, reaching its quiet here now. Not peaceful peace requires a kind of forgiveness the world hasn't earned, but quiet, yes. The storm's past. The one that hit 2 days ago, or maybe 3, I've stopped counting. It flooded half the valley and choked the last of the northern farms in brine. I saw trees I've known since I was a child drown where they stood. Branches thrashing in the waves like arms begging for help. No one came. And yet, there's a crack in the sky above me. A break in the gray, just wide enough to let in a thin shaft of gold. Sunlight, real sunlight. The kind that warms your skin and wakes the birds. I'd forgotten what it felt like. It hurts a little, honestly. Like joy after too much grief. You start to wonder if you even deserve it. But it's there. Asterisk, I found something the other day. Not a miracle. Not a cure. Not a paradise buried under the ocean. No, it was just a child's drawing taped to the wall of a half-collapsed church, fluttering in the wet wind. It was faded, but still clear. A sun with a face, smiling. Stick figures holding hands. A dog, I think, with a blue collar and 3 legs. Someone survived here long enough to remember what family was. Or maybe just to imagine it again. That matters. It reminded me that we don't just survive for ourselves. We survive so that the stories keep going. Even if the world is crumbling around us, we are the witnesses. The echo. The proof that we were here and we felt things deeply. Even if there's no one left to remember us but the sea. Asterisk, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Not that it gets better. Not always. Not quickly. But that even in the aftermath, when everything you've known has slipped beneath the waves or vanished into the haze, you can still choose to look for something. A reason, a moment, a memory worth repeating. I've made my peace with the idea that I may never see another human being face to face. But I still talk to you. I still press record. I still broadcast. Because maybe someone's out there. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not for 100 years. But the signal will keep bouncing through the static, hopping across the ionosphere, waiting to be heard. And if you're hearing this, whoever you are, wherever you are, I want you to know, you're not alone. Asterisk, we may never outrun the ocean. The sky may never return to blue. But we're more than just what we've lost. We are what we choose to remember, what we choose to fight for, what we choose to love, even when it hurts to love anything in a world like this. And right now, I choose to believe that somewhere, someone else is still trying, still boiling water, still patching up broken roofs, still whispering lullabies to children with salt in their hair and fear in their eyes, still surviving. And if we can survive, maybe, one day, we can begin again. The voice grows quieter, softer, as though fading into the static. I don't know what comes next, but I have enough food for a few weeks, a dry place to sleep, a journal nearly full, a few more tapes left to record. I have a name scratched into the side of a lantern, someone I used to love, someone I might meet again, in dreams, or in the smoke of tomorrow. And I have this voice, this signal, this story. It may not be much, but it's mine, and for now, it's enough. Asterisk.